Right, you must be wondering what I'm doing on my own here. I'm self-videoing and I've got the lights shining, so it's obviously dark. It's now well into 7 o'clock in the evening, maybe 7:30. The staff have gone home and I decided to come and do some work. In spring we get so many requests to either repot trees or to restyle trees that we can't keep up with the work. So I have to work all hours of the day and night. I wanted to video this one because it's quite an interesting tree. Many of the trees that are brought to me have an interesting story because everyone has an interesting story to tell. And this particular tree has a very fascinating story. Let me bring it close and show you what it is. Those of you who are familiar with the pines will know that these long needles are Japanese black pine, Pinus thunbergii. And look at it. It's got some weird shape. It is old. If you look at the craggy bark, it is really old and craggy. You see the bark? It is really old, flaking away. So this is certainly an old tree. And at some point he's cut it over here. The customer made a cut at the top. Let me show you in detail. I just changed the camera angle. I'm now not in front of the camera, I'm behind the camera, and I'm going to show you some close-ups of the detail parts that I want to highlight. Over here you notice that there's callousing. He cut a branch off, I don't know why, and this is what the top of the tree looks like. It got some weird branches and there are lots of back buds here, so it's kept in pretty healthy condition. So it's got a weird long branch going that side, another branch going that side. It hasn't got an apex. I'll try and create an apex. He's given me not entirely a free hand. He said he wants it restyled by Peter Chan, but he says please don't do too much to it because I like to keep it almost recognizable from its original shape. The story of this tree is very fascinating. Many of the trees that come to me have an interesting history. Now this gentleman, he is now retired. He's well into his late 70s, maybe early 80s. And when he was a young man, he used to work in the Merchant Navy. And in some of his wanderings in the Merchant Navy, he ended up in, I think it was either Hiroshima or Nagasaki. And when he went on shore leave, he did a raffle or something at a fun fair, and he won this bonsai as a prize in the raffle. So it's a raffle prize, he told me, and he brought it back to the UK more than 40 years ago, and he's had it all this time. He's kept it alive, but nothing else has been done. It's grown a long branch. It must have been maybe a quarter the size, you never know. I've not seen original pictures of this tree, but it certainly is not quite like a bonsai, although he thinks that it's a very good bonsai. But he does want me to style it, make it look more like a bonsai. So he's given me more or less a limited scope for restyling the tree. So let me see what I can do. I've already started putting a piece of wire on. I want to make it a more conical shape and perhaps even get some form of semi-cascade tree from this. So I will do some wiring. Because I'm self-videoing, I can't show you the detail, but I will explain to you when I've done some work on it, because this is going to turn out hopefully into something more interesting than what it is like at the moment. I've done so far. I've put a wire on this long branch. You can see I've used, I think it's 3.5 millimeter wire, and I've gone across, right across to this side, and I've also managed to put a wire up to the top, so I've done a bit of a curl. The whole point of this exercise is to make the tree much tighter looking, because it's looking too wide and spread out. I'm going to tighten the whole tree. So I'm going to put some more wire on and bend the branches so that it looks tighter. So that is what I'm aiming to do. So I'm going to show you what else I've done. I've now put a double coil of, I think this is 3.5 mil wire on this very long branch, and I'm going to give it a twist. Meanwhile, I've plucked a lot of the needles. Usually with most pines, and especially with black pine, you need to pluck the needles to show more of the trunk and the branches. And also by plucking the needles, you get more bud back and you'll get smaller buds. So this is what the tree looks like so far. I've tightened it up. I've got that triangular shape and I'm going to make it even more tight. So the next shot you'll see some difference. I'm going to bend the branches. So I've done about an hour's work and I've really tightened the branches, wired it, and I've bent it double to make the whole tree much tighter. So I've got the conical shape there and I've kept the long branch. I haven't pruned any branches off or any twigs. All I've done is pull the needles out. Look at it, just the needles. And by wiring, I've tightened the whole tree and kept it this shape. So his remit was that I don't do too much. I've done enough, but I've changed the look of the tree. So if we compare it to what it started off life looking like, so you will see that there should be quite a considerable change. And where he cut that branch off, that has become almost like a feature. It's a nice elbow. So what I thought was originally the back has now turned out to be front. If I turn the tree round, it's nice from this side is okay. It's not as nice, but I think the other side is the proper front. So I can see that there's a bit of wire mark here. Can you see? I think wires were put around the trunk to try and bend it, but it didn't succeed in bending. I think he may have cut off a leader there. So this is the end result of that tree. And this was a really challenging and difficult tree. So we made it look more like a, bonsai that could pass off as a credible tree. So there you are. This was a remit which was difficult, but I think the customer should be satisfied. So there you go.